Hej, siemano wam wszystkim ludzie, z tej strony Arturo, witam was na swoim kanale i kontynuujemy Agatha Christie, Herkules Poirot, The London Case. Moi drodzy, mam nadzieję, że to będzie już ostatni odcineczek, jeżeli chodzi o tą seryjkę. Pozostało nam niewiele do końca, no i nie ukrywam, że przed weekendem chciałbym zakończyć ten tytuł. Ale czy się uda? Zobaczymy. Wszystkie zadanka mamy wykonane, tak? Wszystkie połączenia mamy wykonane, ale obstawiam, że coś jeszcze tu gdzieś znajdę, ponieważ Herkules Poirot mówił, że prawdopodobnie Mortimer coś tutaj zgubił, coś tutaj, nie wiem, między tymi szachami a globusem, półką pełną książek, być może coś tutaj zgubił, coś mu wypadło. Chcę dokładnie zweryfikować to miejsce. Rowek w podłodze, o właśnie, tego nie widzieliśmy. Na podłodze, gdzie stał globus, znajduje się wyżłobienie wykonane przez człowieka. Czyli coś jeszcze jednak tutaj znaleźliśmy. I mamy kolejne jedno połączenie. Dobra, ale która tu jest to? Wyżłobienie takie jak to nie mogło powstać przez pomyłkę. Rowek w podłodze. Z czym byśmy mogli to połączyć? Zachowanie się podejrzanie, półka na książki, odgłosy budzące wątpliwości. Szachy przewrócone w drodze do drzwi.
Come now. Think on what...
Czyli jednak nie o to tutaj chodzi. Odgłosy budzące wątpliwość.
Order and method. That...
Też nie. Czyli spróbuję to połączyć z... Czekajcie, rowek w podłodze, brzęk szkła, globus przesunięty.
I must take a different approach if...
Też nie. To z czym mogę to połączyć? Półka na książki. Serio. Kiedy wrócę do domu, sprawdzę w domu każdą półkę z książkami i szczelinę. Posiadanie ukrytego pokoju wydaje się niemal obowiązkowe. Mogę sobie tylko wyobrazić, co się w nim ukrywa. Potworny i banalny zapach angielskiej herbaty.
Put your hands up and step away from there.
Monsieur, there is no need.
Enough of your phony pleasantries. Let's see what the real police have to say.
The first thing they would notice is the politician aiming his revolver at an officer while they are conducting official police business.
I'm sure they would agree I have every right to protect myself from a foreign intruder.
If you were to lower the gun, perhaps we could discuss the situation we find ourselves in.
You may have authority in your own country, but not here. Now, explain yourself.
Wygląda na to, że muszę rozważniej dobierać słowa. O kurde, co pan zamierza? Trzyma pan na muszce w swoim biurze funkcjonariusza prawa, gościa w pańskim kraju. Zachęcam skontaktować się z władzami, może byliby zainteresowani rozejrzeniem się tutaj. Jestem pewien, że gazety byłyby zachwycone historią polityka, który sfingował atak serca w imię oszustwa ubezpieczeniowego. I co mam wybrać, żeby mnie nie zastrzelił?
You don't know what you're talking about.
Jeśli to prawda, to dlatego tu jestem. Nie ma ofiar pańskich zbrodni, wciąż ma pan szansę zakończyć to tutaj. Od tego, co może się zdarzyć, nie ma odwrotu, jeśli nie rzuci pan broni.
Enough! I need a second to think about all this. How has it all come to this? No, it's not my fault. It's...
It is not too late. Your intentions were good. Scotland Yard will look sympathetically at...
If you had just left that fool Hardwick to it, we wouldn't be here, and I wouldn't have to do this.
I have done nothing but remain honorable to my oath to uphold the law. It is Monsieur's choices and actions that have brought us to this point. And he must accept responsibility for what is to come.
Poirot, are you all right?
All the better for seeing you, Hastings.
I was worried I was going to miss him.
Your timing and accuracy could not have been more perfect.
What do we do now?
We take our leave.
And what about him? Will he be okay?
He shall be fine. Although I am not envious of the sore head he will awake to. Come, there is much to tell.
Behind the bookshelf. But I never.
Monsieur Dryden, how are you?
Detective...
Poirot.
Yes, of course. What can I do for you?
Czy Mademoiselle Farquhar pracuje dzisiaj?
She is, but not here, I'm afraid.
Do you know where she is?
She said something about heading back to the museum.
Czy pozwoli nam pan wejść do ciemni?
For what, exactly?
Forgive me. I recently inherited a number of belongings from a deceased relative, including an undeveloped spool of film.
I'd like to help, but there isn't anyone here that could develop them for you.
I'm more than capable, and I'll leave it tidier than when we arrived.
In that case, knock yourselves out. I've got a meeting to run to anyway. I shouldn't be longer than half an hour or so.
Pardon. Where has this confident and daring version of Monsieur Hastings been hidden?
We all have a hidden side, it's just our own choice of when to show it.
So our first step is...
Don't tell me there is something the great Detective Poirot doesn't know.
I must concede that photography is something I have little experience in.
Lucky I'm here then. We need to start with a tray filled with developing fluid. Next, pour the fixer fluid into another tray and then add the photographic paper.
I have a newfound respect for those that make such activities look so simple.
Let's just wait until we see the results. It shouldn't take long.
Zatem mądrze wykorzystam swój czas i dowiem się, jakiej prawdy może kryć ten pokój. Dobra, znajdujemy się w ciemni, gdzie będziemy być może wywoływać jakieś zdjęcia. Szczerze powiedziawszy, cieszę się, że mamy teraz zdjęcia cyfrowe i trwa to zdecydowanie szybciej. Muzyka może sprawić, że nawet najbardziej pracochłonne zadanie stanie się łatwiejsze. Okno jest pomalowane na czarno. No, nie ma się co dziwić, znajdujemy się w ciemni. Stosowany specjalnie przy wywoływaniu fotografii dodano przedmiot do ekwipunku. Świetnie. Sądzę, że to służy do tworzenia odbitek fotograficznych. Być może potrzebny jest papier fotograficzny, o krok bliżej do poznania prawdy. Ale coś jeszcze będę pewnie potrzebował. Szafka pod zlewem. Sprawdźmy, co kryje się w środku.
Aha.
Dowody 0/2. Stąd można widzieć, co jest w środku, jeśli nie ma się odpowiednich informacji. Brak etykiety irytujące. Nigdy nie pojmuję, jak ludzie mogą pracować w tak amatorski sposób. Odpowiedź patrzyła mi prosto w twarz. Dobra, coś widzieliśmy, tak? Do ekwipunku. Być może jakiś utrwalacz. Kapelusik. Mademoiselle Farquhar ma kapelusz, który wygląda niemal identycznie jak ten, który Mademoiselle Smith miała na sobie na gali. Byłem pewny, że gdzieś już widziałem taki kapelusz. Włącznik światła. Podczas wywoływania zdjęć należy wyłączyć światło, aby nie uszkodzić odbitek. Dobra, czy coś jeszcze tutaj znajdę? Hastings, mogę z nim porozmawiać. Butelka bez etykiety. Stąd można wiedzieć, co jest w środku, jeśli nie ma się odpowiednich informacji. Skąd mam wiedzieć, która butelka to jest utrwalacz? Niezbędne w wywoływaniu fotografii. Dodano przedmiot do ekwipunku. Dobra. Muzyka może sprawić, że nawet najbardziej pracochłonne zadania staną się łatwiejsze. Ale nie mogę włączyć tego radyjka. Ja bym chciał wywołać zdjęcia. Sądzę, że to służy do tworzenia odbitek fotograficznych, ale nie mogę nic tutaj użyć. To gdzie w takim razie? O, poczekajcie. Aha. To jest całe miejsce. Zależy, z jakiej perspektywy na to patrzę. Niezbędne w wywołaniu fotografii.
Have you found it yet?
Butelki bez etykiet.
You want the photographic fixer?
And how would one know it from another?
It smells like ammonia. Handy, I suppose, when you can't see much in here.
Gorzkie migdały, wyraźny zapach cyjanku potasu. Amoniak, tak jak powiedział Monsieur Hastings. Mademoiselle Farquhar miała dostęp do tej samej trucizny, którą zabiła Mademoiselle Court-Smith. Nie wolno wierzyć w zbiegi okoliczności. Musimy omówić sprawę Mademoiselle Farquhar.
We've already been over this, Poirot. I don't want to argue.
I have no intentions of continuing our previous conversation.
She didn't steal the painting, though. We know that.
Her guilt in Mademoiselle Court-Smith's murder.
Merci.
Dobra, czyli co? Porozmawiaj z Hastingsem, przeszukaj ciemnie w biurze gazety. Mamy cyjanek potasu, mamy wywołacz fotograficzny, mamy utrwalacz fotograficzny. Czyli wypadałoby teraz wywołać zdjęcie. Tak muszę się zastanowić, w którym miejscu. Tacki. Taca na płyn związany z procesem wywołania. Być może potrzebny jest utrwalacz fotograficzny. Logiczne myślenie zawsze zwycięża. Taca na płyn zawiązany z procesem wywoływania. Być może potrzebna jest butelka wywoływacza w płynie. Voila!
Okay, I think that's everything. Oh,
Is there a problem?
there shouldn't be, but there must be light coming in from somewhere.
Is that not the point of a dark room? That it will allow no light in to damage the photographs?
We need to find where the light's coming in from and damaging the prints.
You continue your work, and I shall find the curious light source.
Światło wpada do ciemni, okej. Być może to okno nie jest do końca całe czarne. Nie chcę patrzeć na to radyjko. Skąd by mogło tutaj docierać światło? Włącznik światła.
Aha.
Jeśli mam zobaczyć, co mnie otacza, muszę oświetlić pokój. Aha. Czyli mamy tutaj element. Coś jest nie do końca zasłonięte. Co w związku z tym, jak mam stąd wyjść? Nie widzę żadnych elementów interaktywnych. Dobra, jakimś cudem się udało. Okno zdaje się być zamalowane, ale zostało niedawno otwarte. Tutaj jest szczelina. Okno wychodzi na boczną uliczkę. Niezawodna chusteczka idealna do załatania wszelkich szczelin, przez które wpada światło. Czyli co, udało nam się to zasłonić, czy nie? Miejmy taką nadzieję. Taca na płyn związany z procesem wywoływania. Dobra, pogadajmy z Hastingsem.
Monsieur Hastings, may we talk a moment?
I'm in the middle of developing these.
I'm afraid not.
Czy pan Drygen nie widział, jak pana Farquhar wychodzi? Radio, kapelusz, Mademoiselle Farquhar mogła wyjść z ciemni przez okno.
Mr. Poirot, you are a genius.
Czy pan dyrygent powiedział, że nie słyszał, aby coś się stało?
Mr. Poirot, you are a genius.
Czy pani Kanszem nie zauważyła pani Farquhar wychodzącej do mieszkania?
That would never have even occurred to me. I've got a lot to learn. Look, this photograph is just about finished.
Okej. Dobra, mamy fotografię. Jest 2 mężczyzn, 2 kobiety i 2 dzieci. Ale co w związku z tym? Zobaczcie. Znowu mogę wszędzie klikać i nic się nie dzieje. Ta gra ma ewidentnie jakieś takie dziwne błędy. Nawet jak klikam na te postaci, to się nic nie dzieje. I to samo było przed chwilą. Kiedy spojrzałem na okno i na tą szczelinkę, nie mogłem wyjść w ogóle z tamtego obrazu. I teraz jest podobnie. Też mogę tu wszędzie klikać i nic się nie dzieje.
Is that?
It appears so.
And what has she got in her hand? That can't be the same cigarette case.
The cigarette case that was taken from Mademoiselle Farquhar's luggage on our voyage here. It appears Mademoiselle Farquhar had a much closer relationship with Mademoiselle Court Smythe. I would say they...
Cousins.
Oui, monsieur. Hastings, I must thank you.
For what? Allowing myself to be enticed by Miss Farquhar's feminine nature.
For saving me from whatever Monsieur Aylesworth and his revolver had planned.
If it wasn't for me licking my wounds, you wouldn't have been there alone in the first place.
And if you were, and not at the Court Smythe estate, we would never have made such revelations. You are one of the most honest and authentic fellows I have met. You cannot allow a misguided moment of red-blooded male instinct to taint that.
You have never let yourself fall to the wicked ways of the fairer sex.
No. And that is a day I cannot even fathom.
With Hastings' help at the Court Smythe estate, something I would have liked to have considered, we now know the reasoning behind Mademoiselle Farquhar's brutal actions towards her own cousin. The circumstances around the murder need no further consideration, but the location of the missing Benedent Magdalene still frustrates me.
Mamy rozdział 9, ostatni rozdział prawdopodobnie. W jaki sposób panna Court Smythe mogła dostać się do pracowni konserwatorskiej? Na balkonie Evelyn udawała, że jest Irene. Johann krył Irene, zanim się pokłócili.
A moment of peace before one's little grey cells must ponder how Mademoiselle Court Smythe made it from the museum with the painting in tow. Ah yes, Hastings had something for me. An invitation to Mademoiselle Court Smythe's exhibit. Even after the truths of her crimes and personal betrayal, Mademoiselle Warbeck still feels it within her for a final send-off. Perhaps Mademoiselle did not leave with the painting at all.
Jaki był plan panny Court Smythe na wyniesienie obrazu z muzeum? Irene ukryła obraz pokutająca Magdalena w jednym z obrazów Evelyn. Irene ukryła obraz pokutająca Magdalena za jednym z własnych obrazów.
Poirot, there you are. What are you...
On this occasion there is no time for pleasantries. We shall finally bring the mystery of the missing painting to an end. We must return to the scene of the initial crime, the Royal Edward Gallery. Is everyone present? Please ask them to convene in the exhibition room.
Is there something you're not telling me?
All will be revealed. Messieurs et mesdames, thank you for joining us here today.
What's this all about? Yes, my time is rather valuable.
I thought everyone was here to see the exhibition.
I'm all for looking at some real art, as long as it's not all hers.
I understand the frustration and hostility that most of you must feel towards her. For some, even...
Hatred, loathing, disgust.
Betty, please.
Even after everything, you stand here and defend her?
I'm not defending her. If anyone should hate her, it's me.
Perhaps you should move on.
In this room is where it all began. Or at least, that we are all aware Mademoiselle Court-Smythe was behind the painting's disappearance. But it was not a moment of greed that drove her, but rather a well-orchestrated plan that involved most of you tangled in her web of lies and deceit.
All right, we all know why we're here. Maybe you can speed it along a little.
At the detective inspector's request, I shall forego the series of events that led up to the theft of the penitent Magdalene painting. Perhaps a fitting place to begin would be with the death of Mademoiselle Court-Smythe.
If that's going to get things moving.
You are all aware of the fire and murder that took place at Mademoiselle Court-Smythe's loft apartment.
The fire that she started after having one too many.
That is where the difference between desire for the truth and the actual truth go their separate ways. Inside Mademoiselle's apartment was the penitent Magdalene painting, or at least a forgery, one of 4 produced by her own brush. The fire was set purposely, in an attempt to destroy evidence and hide the true nature of her death. Poison.
Dobra, co my tutaj mamy? Przedstaw ustalenia w sprawie. Autoportret Mademoiselle Court-Smythe. Myślę, że tytuł może nie być tak trafny, jak uważała autorka.
I know things got out of hand, but it was you that broke into my office in the first place.
Jakie przestępstwo popełnił pan Ellsworth? Oszustwo ubezpieczeniowe. W obronie własności. O, i nie jest przetłumaczone.
There still remained one missing forgery. The image of the honorable and distinguished gentleman that you present yourself as has gone on long enough.
It may seem like an alien concept to you, but we English, we take great pride in how we present ourselves.
A pan pragnie się prezentować jako człowiek chory, a może jako człowiek, który nie wycelowałby z pistoletu w stróżu prawa. Człowiek, który szczyci się kupnem kopii i próbą odzyskania jego wartości pieniężnej z ubezpieczenia.
How long are we going to entertain this man's twisted fantasies?
Poirot, can we move this along?
While searching the main hall for clues, a snuff box was found, full of cocaine. And after speaking with my good friend, Monsieur Demire, about the effects of cocaine on the human body,
recent studies have discovered that the use of cocaine and other such stimulants can put a tremendous strain on the human body.
Preposterous! I would never do that.
your heart attack became the perfect distraction, while Mademoiselle Court-Smythe was able to slip into the exhibition room and remove the painting from the wall.
Faking a heart attack is pretty low, even for a politician.
Monsieur Hastings.
Once the painting had been confirmed as stolen,
And Monsieur Aylesworth had bothered the detective inspector enough to show he had nothing to do with its disappearance.
he would get to keep the original and claim the insurance money. He was going to have his cake and eat it too.
I'm not going to stand here.
You'll stay right where you are.
A stolen painting, timed perfectly with his crossing of the aisle in the House of Commons. All designed to raise his profile, just in time to announce his desire to be a prime ministerial candidate.
I wasn't doing it for me. The poor and the needy. I wanted to give them a voice.
I have never heard a more self-righteous claim for breaking the law in all my life.
How am I meant to help those that really need it unless I'm in a position that can really bring about change? I have dedicated my life to serving God.
Jakie przestępstwo popełnił biskup Montjoy? Zniszczony obraz, kradzież i defraudacja.
The pieces you had commissioned by Mademoiselle Smythe, which hang on your church walls.
Why are we even standing here listening to this man?
Has this got anything to do with, frankly, anything?
Mogę pana zapewnić, komisarzu, że związek biskupa ze zmarłą jest czym więcej niż partnerów biznesowych, jak sobie wyobrażaliśmy. Jakkolwiek przerażające i potworne były czyny biskupa, nie można pozwolić, aby stały się one głównym punktem dyskusji.
Mademoiselle Smythe's forgeries would be hung on the church walls, while the originals were sold on the black market to lace your own pocket.
You have no proof of these accusations.
Poirot, the penitent Magdalene.
How could one forget? We have already discussed one of the multiple forgeries, and found amongst your hidden collection the second. Mademoiselle Smythe sold you a forgery that you believed to be real, and upon learning of its fabrication, you lashed out, destroying it. One should not allow oneself the arrogance to consider themselves the smartest in the room, especially when they have already fallen foul to another's lies and deception. I am sure theft and embezzlement are questionable enough in God's eyes.
Kogo mamy tutaj dalej? Evelyn.
You know where the painting is, and who killed Irene.
Jaką rolę odegrała panna Warbeck w kradzieży obrazu? Dowody ingerencji. Kochany Giren.
Mademoiselle Warbeck, do you remember the words you used when discussing your career?
No, I mean, yes. You're taking it out of context.
On the contrary, Mademoiselle Smythe threatened your career by involving you in the theft. The exact context you described.
I wouldn't kill her, though. I couldn't.
You cleaned the key to the restoration room, did you not? You continued to deny your involvement with the deceased. A relationship that was nothing more than misplaced love.
You think I don't know that now? I knew it had been her that took the key from my pocket. But when I confronted her...
Behind bars, that's where she belongs.
Give it a rest, old man!
She can't speak to me like that.
Before you continue riding your high horse, Your Grace, perhaps one should consider one's own actions.
My actions? How dare you? You're making a mockery of me, the Church, and God Himself.
It is you that makes a mockery, and I am sure God will forgive me for saying so.
Johann, Florence. Dobra, muszę obrócić obraz, bo nie mogę z nią porozmawiać.
This is all going to make for some story.
Jaką rolę odegrała panna Farquhar w kradzieży obrazu? Kłamała na temat relacji. Wsparcie przy tworzeniu kopii obrazów.
Deals were hatched, forgeries were created, and promises were broken. Mademoiselle Smythe used a mask of deception and authenticity to be. She allowed for you all to see and know only what was necessary to complete your part. Except for one.
As much as I'm enjoying this show, any chance we can get to who killed her?
You shall have to wait only a moment longer, as there was only one accomplice left, and perhaps the most important. Not only her aid in the museum, but in the construction of the forgeries. Mademoiselle Farquhar's deception began before I had even left the shores of Belgium.
You were part of it, the whole time.
Taking us all for fools.
Johann.
Haven't you caused enough damage?
Jakie przestępstwo popełnił pan Christiansen? Kradzież, romans. Wszędzie popełniał błędy.
Madame Hélène, the famous actress and performer, Your story is one I learnt with a heavy heart.
Look here!
When you overheard the conversation between your husband and Mademoiselle Smythe at the gala, your suspicions were confirmed.
I did everything to keep you happy, but it was never good enough.
It began with an infatuation, but turned into a relationship. With the money stolen from your wife, you planned on running away together.
So that's why you took it. You coward.
She manipulated me from day one. She used me. She used her.
Oh, just keep it shut.
Perhaps for once, you should listen to your wife.
Betty.
I wonder how many other hidden skeletons are going to appear.
I know you have a flair for the dramatic, but I do have a job to do.
Dobra, nie będziemy z Davidem rozmawiać. Z Horacym rozmawialiśmy. Kogo mamy tutaj jeszcze? Hastings i Anastazję.
It all ends here, where it began.
Poirot, the penitent Magdalene.
Okej. Wydaje mi się, że porozmawialiśmy z wszystkimi. Evelyn. Przedstaw ustalenia w sprawie.
I hope you're
Z kim jeszcze nie porozmawialiśmy? Czekajcie, tu jeszcze kogoś mamy. Ale tu jest pan policjant, który nie jest klikalny.
Deep down, I knew she never.
Tak naprawdę porozmawialiśmy z wszystkimi i nic się nie dzieje.
This is all going to make for some.
And
I wonder how many other...
Wolałem jeszcze 2 razy wszystko przeklikiwać. Dobra, zastanówmy się. Obraz, słoneczniki, interakcja. Interpretacja słynnego obrazu artysty Vincenta van Gogha. Obraz siła przyrody. Postać stoi spokojnie na brzegu, obserwując przed sobą chaos przyrody. Zastanawiam się, czy Mademoiselle Smythe uważa się za tą postać.
Mademoiselle Smythe manipulated everyone. But that does not excuse the parts that you all have played.
Poirot, the murderer. Tell us now, or I'm marching them all down the station.
Of our suspects, all guilty in some form or other, only one committed the ultimate sin. Monsieur Christiansen, a lover, jilted and tossed aside from a life promised together. Mademoiselle Warbeck, another that was promised her heart only to become a second, caught in Mademoiselle's web. Monsieur Aylesworth, anger that a foolproof plan backfiring. Bishop Mountjoy, a third, sold the idea of an original painting, livid at the thought he had been tricked. Mademoiselle Farquhar, trapped in a partnership where you did not receive what was owed to you. All with motive, but lacking opportunity. Until the realization that someone had used a timer to set the fire. Isn't that right, Mademoiselle Farquhar? Our true relation to the deceased. Cousins, standing to inherit her entire family estate.
You don't understand. It wasn't like that.
You decided to poison her with potassium cyanide, a chemical often found in photography development, via the cork of a bottle of champagne. Wearing an almost identical hat to the deceased, you were able to disguise yourself as her and be seen by the neighbor, leaving her body lifeless in her own apartment. You tried to cover your involvement in both the forgeries and the murder by destroying any evidence. Incredibly clever, Your nefarious plan setting the fire almost tricked even I.
Did you really just praise her for starting a fire?
On the contrary, it was the deception behind the fire. A timer was used, allowing for Mademoiselle Farquhar to be seen in her office as she slipped in and out of the dark-room window.
I didn't want to kill her.
She gave you no choice. You planned and executed a brutal murder. She was your cousin.
A cousin that has controlled me for years. I couldn't escape her.
She held you captive? I did not see a prison cell in her apartment.
No, of course she didn't. Emotionally and financially, I was her captive. I was a struggling critic. But she taught me how to stand up for myself and get what I wanted, what I deserved.
You were aware of her scheme all along?
Not at first. I didn't know she was selling them on the black market.
But even when you did find out, you didn't stop.
There was always a reason I couldn't. And what money I did get, she would hold for me. I couldn't remain under her control anymore. There was no other way.
Mademoiselle, there is always another way.
All I see is the student becoming the master.
Detective Inspector, perhaps it is time that Mademoiselle was escorted to the police station. The truth has been revealed, and Mademoiselle Courtsmythe's murderer will pay the price for her crimes.
There is something you're forgetting, though.
If you think for a moment that the location of the original painting has slipped my mind.
Go on then, where is it?
No dalej, gdzie on jest? Portret malującej dla zasady, obraz siła przyrody, obraz słoneczniki.
In this very museum. If the original painting was to find its way into her portfolio, it would be returned to her after her exhibition has concluded. Meaning?
It would be delivered to her on a plate.
Exactement. She prepared one of her picture frames and made sure it would be in the restoration room.
What on earth is he doing?
You've got to be kidding me.
It would take too long to remove the nails from the frame and hide it, surely.
The nails were sawn down, creating the illusion of being used correctly, when in fact the backboard was easily accessible. Hidden perfectly behind what Mademoiselle Courtsmythe deemed to be her masterpiece.
I never doubted him for a second.
Messieurs et Mesdames, the penitent Magdalene.
Well, detective, you've solved both the theft and murder. I am rather impressed.
Finding the murderer and solving two thefts would have been far more impressive.
2 thefts? You already have another case?
You have forgotten Mademoiselle Farquhar's missing cigarette case.
Oh, of course. Do you think Miss Farquhar lied about it going missing after all?
Mademoiselle Farquhar is far from an honest woman. Lies tripping from her tongue at every turn. But if her motive was indeed to fake theft and claim the insurance money, she would surely not have let it lying where Mademoiselle Babagnan claimed to have found it. Mademoiselle Babagnan's motive is now clear. How she pulled off such a cunning theft still eludes me. Something Hastings said has my little grey cells fired up. Nothing is ever quite what it seems. I suppose we are all forgeries or counterfeits in some form or other. Could Mademoiselle Babagnan have pulled the wool over my eyes in a similar way? I must return to the evidence from the ship with this new perspective.
Dlaczego panna Babagnan miałaby ukraść papierośnicę tylko po to, by ją zwrócić? Chciała zostać zaproszona przez Florence na galę. Wpadła w panikę, wiedząc, że została złapana.
It is you that should be happy, mademoiselle. With no effort at all, you are able to save the day with barely a second thought. You turned a stolen heirloom with a thief and a victim into nothing more than a misplaced item.
A case of being in the right place at the right time.
I do not believe in coincidence. You were where you were meant to be. Had you not boarded when you did, you would likely have not been invited to the gala at all, or been able to be within touching distance of so many beautiful and historical pieces, including the silver mantle. One thing I have learnt during my time here in London is that people portray a version of themselves, one to be seen or be met, and another that remains hidden from the world.
What are you trying to say, detective?
That there are some that wear a mask of authenticity. That perhaps, under different circumstances, I would have had the pleasure of meeting a different Mademoiselle Babagna.
Will you be leaving London now?
There are a few small matters to settle before I leave. Mademoiselle Farquhar is now in the hands of the Scotland Yard, where she will stand trial for her crimes.
You really do believe in the law?
If you do not believe in the law, madness and lunacy will ensue.
And everyone should be punished for their crimes?
I believe that we should be held accountable for our actions. No one man is above the law.
Or woman?
And you, mademoiselle? Are you to leave London?
There's nothing more for me here. I hear Paris is quite beautiful. Perchance our paths should cross again.
Perhaps, under those
I look forward to it, detective.
Well, that's that then.
Oui, monsieur. The cases are closed and Mademoiselle Farquhar will shortly be behind bars.
What of the others?
Judging by the detective inspector's glare at Monsieur Aylesworth, he will not be escaping the law. And Bishop Mountjoy. Once news spreads of his connection with the black market, I would question his attendance come the Sunday service.
I was hoping at least someone would get a happy ending.
Monsieur Hastings, you have been by my side throughout this investigation. Without you, the guilty parties, would not be facing the consequences of their actions.
I helped where I could, but it was mostly you.
What you may not know, and I would kindly request you keep to yourself.
Lona?
I would not go as far as that. But it appears you understand my sentiment.
Good thing I was around to save you from a gunman.
I fear I shall not live that down.
I'll maybe hold on to it a little longer. No.
The great Detective Poirot. As much as I admire your formality, I think we should look for something more familiar.
Our new relationship?
I have seen the benefit of friendship. Connecting with someone that can be trusted and loyal. Someone that shares an authenticity not only in themselves, but in their beliefs.
And that's me. Detective Poirot and his trusted friend, Arthur Hastings.
It does have a certain charm to it, n'est-ce pas?
Okej, moi drodzy, i udało nam się w tym odcinku zakończyć całe śledztwo. Cóż mogę powiedzieć o tym tytule? Mam mieszane uczucia. Powiem tak, fabuła była dosyć ciekawa i wciągnęła mnie. Byłem ciekaw, jak się zakończy cała ta sprawa. Aczkolwiek błędy, które pojawiały się w grze, no niestety przyczyniałem się do tego, że gra ma więcej minusów niż plusów. Szczerze powiedziawszy, pierwsza część bardziej mnie wciągnęła, bardziej mi się podobała i wydaje mi się, że była bardziej dopracowana. Gdyby ta gra była dopracowana, zdecydowanie zasługiwałaby na medal. Może nie na pierwsze miejsce, ale jakieś tam trzecie miejsce i tak dalej, i tak dalej. W październiku będzie nowa odsłona Agaty Christie przez inne studio. Zobaczymy, jak tamten tytuł się zaprezentuje. Aczkolwiek będzie to odświeżona wersja Orient Expressu, ale i tak myślę, że sobie to gramy, bo jestem ciekaw tego tytułu. Moi drodzy, to tyle, jeżeli chodzi o Agatha Christie The London Case. Mam nadzieję, że mimo wszystko seryjka wam się podobała i mimo wszystko oglądało wam się to przyjemnie. A tymczasem dzięki wielkie za uwagę, trzymajcie się i do usłyszenia. Hej!